Self-doubt.
What's up, warriors? So we've now made it to video 6 in our series of videos, self-doubt. This one, interestingly enough, is interesting because many veterans do seem to come across this obstacle, doubt. And regardless of how long we were in the military, every day our mental, emotional, physical abilities and strength were challenged, whether we were constantly training for security purposes, mission related, MOS related. It was an ongoing thing that we did together. And then when you get out of the military, all that stops. It's that sudden cutoff of family, friends, that camaraderie that most veterans do tend to miss. And then it's like we doubt ourselves. And similarly to what my previous videos mentioned here in the self series, was that whether it's we no longer feel worthy because we took off the uniform, so we no longer represent the greatness of America or the greatness of who we were, the good parts of us, because we were good at our job, because we stood up for our soldiers and Marines, we stood up for others, we represented something great. But when you take it off, your worth becomes challenged. You no longer have that structure keeping you molded into that soldier, that Marine mindset. It was like it's a sudden cutoff. And then even though we are well aware of adapting and overcoming any situation, all of a sudden you get thrown into a civilian world. You're like, I don't know what to do right now, because literally everything is challenged at once. And no one's really keeping accountable of us anymore. Before, it was you had an NCO constantly keeping an eye on you at all times. So if anything happened and you had to get recalled back to base or post, you were accountable. You were held accountable for certain things. Yes, there are always outliers to that. I know there's bad apples in the military too. But in general, we had people accountable for us. And when you get out, it's like, wow, no one really cares about me. So because I wore the uniform, I had people looking out for me. People had my back in some form or another. It was like a family that had to take care of you. Whether you were the bad child or not, people looked out for you. And even if you didn't really like them or not, they were, you were still their responsibility, or you had responsibilities for others. And all of a sudden, everything becomes challenged when we get out. It's like, we can't do this. Really, it's because we lost that support system. We're challenging ourselves because we don't think we're worthy. We no longer who we know who we really are. Oh, I was the badass. I did this and this. But when you take off that uniform, it's almost like we turned everything into something physical. We idolized the idea of how Hollywood perceives the military, as well as mixing up with politics. When you get out, it's everywhere. You can openly discuss it now. So everything becomes challenged. And then when you adapt to what you're surrounding with, this is where the mental health coping mechanisms tend to come into play. Oh, well, I'll just drink. I'll just do drugs. I'll just do this or that because my life isn't worth anything anyway, because I'm a nobody now. Because the VA doesn't do anything for me, or my doctor quit on me and everything else. And because in the VA system, it seems like doctors are constantly changing over. So it's like, that's for my husband too. He's constantly restart over. Every 6 months he has to go see him. So, or every 4 to 6 months. So doubt is a serious, flaw within the adapting process. So if reintegrating classes are going to be the future thing, ongoing, then they need to also consider that each individual may doubt ourselves. Because in the initial class, when you're just getting out, you're just like, get me out of here, I don't want to be here, just give me my DD-214, I'm out. Whether you're being kicked out, whether you're being chaptered out for some reason, honorably discharged, generally, discharge or whatever. There's, in the initial part, you can't just say, are you feeling pain today? Are you this and that? Because a lot of times we're just like, get me out of here, I don't want to be here. And then we just become hyper-focused on just get me out of here. And then it becomes a delayed onset of everything. PTSD, processing, falling through the cracks. Because initially, when they ask you, You gotta do a resume, you ready to go to work, you ready to go to school, this and that. You're just like, I don't want to talk. I think I have ideas, but let me get out of here. Let me just process. And then you end up sitting in your home alone in a quiet room going, what the fuck? And I feel like a lot of us find that standstill, and then we start doubting everything because no one's come to check on us. No one's feeling that motivation anymore. Whether you made fun of the motivation in the military or not, it was still there. It was in the background. But when all of a sudden it's not there at all, silence becomes very deafening. And depression sets in, insomnia. Then you include alcohol or drugs or something else. And then we start just doing bad things, hanging around people we shouldn't, just doing things just to feel the high, feel that adrenaline rush again, just to feel important. It's just some vicious cycles out there in the mental health community. So I am really hoping the Fight series is reaching those who need to hear it. This self-series is really to give a perspective of different perspectives and ideas that the military is a different mindset all around. When they get out of the military, they need a home to come home to. They need a safe place to, like, hey, you're gonna go through these stages of psychology, and whether they can actually meet someone and talk with them professionally or not, they need that structure, that foundation. I really hope that you are checking on those you're thinking of. If you are a leader in the military, check on those, even if they're still in. You can still be the good leader that you used to be. We don't need to be doubting ourselves that we are good. Because people will question, why do so many veterans take their life? They did this, they served their country, they did great things, they have all these awards, they have these coins, they have this and that. But yet they take their own life? How? You gotta look at the little bits and pieces. And oftentimes, there's evidence leading up to this could happen. The unspeakable could happen. You can't idolize a trophy, say, whether it's an award, a coin. You can't idolize it to the point where that's it. You idolize the uniform so much that when it's taken off, you all of a sudden become a nobody. And then literally everything you did great, you sacrificed your own life, you took shrapnel for your battle buddy, you did great things, all of a sudden lose their meaning when you take off the uniform, when you're sitting alone because it was the camaraderie that you miss. And then you start feeling like you failed them, that you didn't get to deploy with them after you got out. You start second guessing literally everything, every aspect. Veterans still need to unite outside the uniform. I think that's the key that many of us realize this is a possibility. Just because you take off the uniform, okay, you don't have to write them up anymore. They're not your responsibility. But if you are a good leader, you're still going to check on your soldiers or your Marines. You're still going to care, as much as we may not want to some days. But why leave a fallen comrade? You know they're sitting in the dark. You know they've been drinking their life away, not making good decisions. Be there for them. Check on them. Keep fighting the fight. There's a fight that we come home to too, even if it's just within us. Everyone has a fight within us, let alone all the outside world. I hope you can count 3 good things that happened today. Keep fighting the fight. There's no shame in asking for help. Some of us are just better at hiding our scars. Keep fighting the fight today.